There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Superlative Podcast. I'm Edward Bushi. The show format is simple. One guest, no edits, no post-production. Just a sharp live conversation about what it really takes to get to higher levels and what comes next. So let's get into it. I want to give a really big and warm welcome to Susana Espinosa de los Reyes, who has been in the venture industry for 10 years and watched recently AI kill startups. It was supposed to help, not by competing with them, but by becoming them. Before we get into your story, could we have two sentences about what you're doing, Susanna, at Dux Capital?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the invite, Edward, and happy to be here and have that live conversation. So, as you were saying, I've been in venture for the past 10 years, at Dux almost for the past 5 years. What I do, well, we all emerging managers do, but a bit of everything. I would say most of my time is dedicated to seeing new startups. So, I do manage all the pipeline, receive more than 1,000 companies a year, do the first analysis, and then present it to my business partners, our investment committee, and through all our investment process to end up investing in at least two or three a year. And well, of course, I also do some part of fundraising next to Jose Luis, my business partner, and then the follow up of all of our portfolio companies. We currently
Okay.
have 18 companies in our fund one and 5 companies in our fund two.
Okay. Sounds like your fund two is just ramping up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We're actively investing now our fund two.
Nice, nice. So yeah, I just want to get into your origin story before you were a VC, right? Before that you've been in it for 10 years. You started when machine learning was a buzzword, then blockchain, and now AI, right? I
Yeah,
guess still staying in the venture thing, but like, what's different about like this cycle?
I mean, definitely what we're seeing on the technologies and what startups are trying to solve. So
Mm,
I didn't do anything before joining venture. I came out
yeah,
from college and joined a venture capital firm exactly 10 years ago,
yeah,
uh, actually in May 2016, so 10 years ago from that. And we started seeing at that moment a lot different solutions. Some were starting to use some technologies, blockchain to have more private information and things managed like on the back end of startups,
yeah.
machine learning to optimize like the operations of a fintech or risk patterns on a credit scoring solution or things like that. And well, a lot of that has shifted, and now what we see with I would say now a lot of companies that we see today, or all the tech ones days, are new
Yeah.
AI solutions, but what we see are they all just different agent solutions, or that's at least what we see the most. We're not a very AI active investor. We do have two investments, but more for infrastructure and one for
Yeah.
the operations and sales part of law firms. But I do have seen that changes, and well, I've seen a lot also what 6 or 7 years ago was a super value add that a software as a service did, or that a CRM platform could do, or simply a research platform or a scheduling platform for I know doctors or things psychologists, things like that. Well, now can be done by one of the large AI hyperscalers. So that's a bit of what we do see with AI,
Mm,
right? And that's where we're worried of making some investments. How do we know AI is going to boost the potential of a lot of startups, but the AI is not going to kill a new tech startup just because Anthropic or OpenAI or Google or Microsoft launch a
mm.
new
Feature.
actualization or a new feature, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So we are vigilant on seeing those trends, but now just seeing a lot of very similar companies just
yeah.
for different markets.
Yeah, I think I jumped a little bit, but like you seem to have a really good eye for finding things. Where did you develop that in before getting into VC?
I mean, it's practice. I would say I studied business before VC. Since I was in college, I did a lot of things with founders. We organized tech talks, had great mentors that showed me like different business skills, and I think it comes on of my way of doing. I come from an entrepreneurial family. My
Mm,
grandparents immigrated from Armenia to Mexico with nothing and started a venture at that moment with what doing a shoe store and a shoe factory. So that part of seeing like business everywhere, it's part of my DNA.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that you came from that background. That's really cool. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and you know, like talking about opportunities, it seems that uh, you guys as a fund like explore you guys live in Mexico, but you guys explore stuff in the U.S. market. So that's a deliberate choice, right? What do you see in the U.S. What do you see from Mexico City about the U.S. Startup ecosystem or San Francisco ecosystem that or New York investor cannot see? Compared to those people, what do you notice better?
well, first of all, we are based between Mexico and the US. So half of the team is based out of Austin and half of the team is based out of Mexico.
Oh,
What
okay,
we
so
do
nice.
see is a we see risk, we see opportunities, and a different perspective. We have a different way of managing risk, of understanding some growth potentials because of us coming from an emerging market that's Mexico, but we also understand like the benefits of being on a stable economy and what you can do between both of them. And what we try to see, or how a lot of our advisors have called us, is like we're nonlinear thinkers.
Mm,
And what we define with that is when you come from from markets where we have to start everything, right? So 10 years ago, venture in Mexico had nothing. It started like 15 years ago or 12 years ago.
oh, it's fresh. Wow.
Versus if we compare it to living in the East Coast or the West Coast, it has been working for the past 60 years.
Mm,
So we have to be creative on how can we manage this. We don't have so much assets under management to just come with founders and say, hey, this is what we do, what is our check, this is our terms, this is it's our way, or it's not in not any other way. And that creativeness of being nonlinear thinkers have helped us find solutions that can become from niche to mainstream. And that's a lot of what we have on our mentality of what we're finding to invest. And someone that doesn't come from that background of an emerging market,
yeah.
and yes, Mexico is huge on many senses, but still an emerging economy in many other, and mostly on the venture side, on the investment side, on any risk investment that has to take on technology and innovation. And that's where we see those solutions different. And that's why we end up investing in mostly Hispanic founders or nonlinear founders that also come from different minorities that are based out of the US. So we do very similar things of weighing and the resilience of thinking different with a lot of immigrant communities in the US,
Mm,
not only the Hispanic community. By nature, we know more Hispanics because that's why we meet more in the events. We speak the same language. And when we say that, it's not Spanish, right? It's just like we understand a lot of things. Our families have similar backgrounds.
mm,
Uh, but that way of thinking that we call or define ourselves nonlinear thinkers is what lets us have access to a different pipeline and also analyze the same investment opportunity that someone else is analyzing with a different perspective.
yeah. Like that's really unique, right? To have that kind of perspective, and talking about, I like the word you use, non-linear, right? And talking about that, I want to go back to the call that we had earlier. You talked about how you focus on consumer products at a time when most VCs are doing AI.
Yeah,
So, like on the
that
call, yeah, like I would love to get into that because you said that ventures become super risky in it because AI is here. VCs invest in something, but then oh my God, it gets killed by Anthropic the next year, right? Would like to get your more on that and like why consumer goods like as an
yeah.
angle.
I think a lot of that comes from us being those nonlinear thinkers, right? Everybody's going through one same path, and
Mm,
like nobody's investing on a new SaaS solution, and they're investing in new agentic solutions in general. And we're drifting into investing in consumer products. And why? Because also from coming from emerging markets,
Mm.
our risk tolerance is different.
Mm.
And we have to return cash to our LPs. That's what we all VCs want to do. We're all compensated on a long term perspective. That's the business for a venture. And what we know, and I think most of us don't know about AI, is that we don't know what's being developed by the large hyperscalers.
Mm.
So,
Hyperscalers meaning
meaning
OpenAI.
OpenAI,
Yeah.
Anthropic, the same Google, the same Microsoft, any of those. I mean, maybe a new one can come in the next years, but today those are the ones dominating the market, right?
True.
And that can shift. Everybody used ChatGPT 2 years ago.
Mm.
Everybody now wants to use Claude. Every company wants to use Copilot. Like those shifts are pretty fast. And when we see that the scope of our venture portfolio is 8 to 10 years, we have to think of products that are gonna last for 8 to 10 years, continue growing, and can give us the exit multiple that we're really expecting. And whatever happens with AI
Yeah.
is something that's gonna help the AI infrastructure side, right? So we invested on an AI super factory, which is a basic AI data center, because we
Mm.
don't mind if you use ChatGPT, Claude, Google, and anything. All of those
Yeah.
are gonna use
The same
data
factory.
centers for
Yeah.
that,
Same data
right?
centers. Yeah. Yeah.
So we see that risk on that side. Like we do have exposure to AI, but it's like use any AI you want. They're gonna use
Mm.
our spaces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we see
Generalize.
consumer is, well, we are not gonna stop buying milk and chips and olive oils and snacks and vegetables, clothing, medicines, supplements,
Mm.
any technology that you use or how optimizing technology any company is, we all still consume all of those products. So that's why investing on the new category of products that can become from a niche to a mainstream is what we're looking with our consumer platform to have access to those investments. And they're clear example of Hispanics having huge returns on that. You have by something basic as Kind Bars that's made by a Mexican founder, which was then sold to Mars. Uh, it was a niche product being sold at
They
some
make
gyms.
granola bars.
They do granola bars.
Yeah.
It was initially many years ago sold at gyms, at CrossFit centers, and now they're sold at every Starbucks worldwide, or they're sold at any Target worldwide, at any Walmart. You can find them everywhere. So they become from a niche sports healthy product to a mainstream granola bar that almost everyone knows them.
Mm.
Topo Chico is another great example. It comes from a Mexican family that did a different sparkling water bought by Coca-Cola, and now you have it everywhere, right?
Mm.
So how could you compete to Perrier and Pellegrino, which were clear winners? Well, Topo Chico by itself could not do it. Topo Chico has been working in Mexico, I'm not sure if for the past 50 or 100 years,
Yeah.
but once it was acquired by Coca-Cola, you go to a restaurant anywhere in America, from Canada to Argentina, and a waiter is gonna ask you, sparkling water, Topo Chico is okay? Yes. And maybe before they ask you, is Perrier bien or is Pellegrino bien or something like that. So it's you can become those products mainstream. And we have other acquisitions that have happened in the past years. Poppy being bought by PepsiCo, Siete Foods being bought by PepsiCo. You have Grasa, which has been growing hugely and just a different olive oil product. So we do see that growth that's huge on the consumer products that we're still gonna buy. You do need to innovate something. You do need to have a different storytelling,
Yeah.
but you still are gonna buy them. And mostly, as VCs, we look for the exit,
Okay.
and exits come from mostly large corporates. When we invest in a pre-seed or seed round,
Yeah.
waiting for the IPO, it's too many years. It normally takes more than 8 years. That's when we are expecting to exit.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be acquired by a corporate at that time. And
Yeah.
if you see
Gotcha.
how large consumer corporates as PepsiCo, as Hershey, as Mars, as Unilever, on the beauty side as L'Oreal, Revlon, all
Uh,
of those grow, they all grow through M&A.
yeah. It's
Nestle
part of
has
their
a
portfolio.
portfolio of brands. Mars has a portfolio of brands. Hershey has a portfolio of brands.
Mm.
Maybe They are known by their Hershey chocolate bars, but they're also owners of Lesser Evil, which is a popcorn company that they
Yeah.
bought last year. So we have to just grow our companies to
Yeah.
get the minimum requirements for them and continue growing through an M&A strategy where we can give our LPs back their money.
Yeah.
So
It
that's why we have to focus a
Oh,
lot on consumer.
sorry. Yeah. Yes.
No
Yeah. I
worries.
totally like get that. And I was like, I'm noticing patterns here because last week I chatted with a investor from 7BC Capital, Andrew Romans, and he was talking about how there's money to be made, so much money to be made before an IPO. It
Exactly.
talked about hedge funds, for example, buying into later rounds before the IPO and creates these crazy valuations. And looks like it sounds like an M&A merger, but in your case, it's actual big companies absorbing the products. But like the thing is, anybody can make a product, right? Anybody can make a consumer good. Like, what are you noticing about these companies that makes you be like, I want to work with them, right? How do you select them?
In any startup that we invest, tech or consumer, we look a lot for the founder product or the founder market fit,
Okay,
more than just a product market fit, right? And that's that the founders really understand why are they launching this to the market.
okay,
The founders understand who's their final consumer. The founders understand what their final consumer is asking for, what's their main pain point, what are they willing to pay, etc. We have a very good example, really, which was one of our first consumer investments for the second fund, come from a family of Colombia that had been living in the US for the past 30 years.
yeah,
They initially were distributors of Peps of Bimbo's products. Bimbo, you all know, it's the huge Mexican bakery conglomerate that dominates all the brands that we consume for bread
mm,
in Mexico, US, Canada, Spain, most of Europe. But they're not healthy. I mean, they are
sugar bread or
just
something like that.
sugar bread. They own Edwards, they own Sara Lee, they own like all those that we buy
Wow,
at traditional supermarkets.
I recognize those names. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they are the owners behind most of those brands. Uh, and this family said, "Hey, uh, we are having a lot of trouble because one of their kids was sick. They started to have to change their diet. They went into a functional foods diet. And at that moment, they sold that business back to Bimbo.
Mm,
And what they were saying is like, hey, we have all that know how of distribution, selling consumer products,
mm,
but we also understand there's a lot of people as a younger kid at that moment that need healthier products, that cannot eat seed oil products, that cannot eat gluten. But doesn't mean that people don't want to eat chips or don't want to eat salty snacks.
okay.
So they did a lot of understanding of how they could create a better for you snack that's called, really, it was previously called artisan tropic, based out of plantain, which is one of the main ingredients used in Colombia, and really reformulated everything for you to open a box or a bag of their chips, and it's almost like you're trying a Lay's chip, but
Mm,
has no GMOs, has no seed oils, has no gluten, and is a lot more healthier for your food, for your
mm,
system. But that comes because of them understanding that consumers needed them because her daughter got better just when she changed it to a functional diet food. And now they're the category leader. Whole Foods, we made a co-investment next to Whole Foods on that. And
whoa.
maybe if we just found a consultant that made a great research saying, hey, we need to find a better for you healthy snacks, or we need to find functional food solutions, but they haven't lived it on a first time basis of how that really changes your health on a long term. They don't understand the product at the same. They don't understand the willingness of purchase from the customers, everything. And
Yeah.
for example, this habit. So that's where we see in the founder product or the founder market fit that makes it much more interesting for us to invest. And like that, there are a lot of founders that really either come from that industry, have had problems on that industry,
Yeah.
and others solving it that we give a lot of value for when we are investing.
You know what it makes me think here? It sounds like you don't need to. create a new category at all. You can just change the underlying, let's say, ingredients or the things that are used to make the product, but you can still operate in this is the same category.
Yeah, creating a new category is tough. I mean, if you see the large brands on the supermarkets are just like a new product within the yogurt category, a new
Hmm.
product within the chips category, a new protein within the proteins market. Now creating like something completely unknown
Yeah.
is tough. But creating a different space or a different solution within a category, it's much more easier. It's a category that's already known. People already eat yogurts or people already eat energy drinks. It's just
Yeah.
shifting on product. A great example there, if you go to the protein bars,
Yeah.
it's we didn't invest on them, but I researched a lot about them, and it's the founders of Raw Bar, which now are the founders of David's Bar. And when they just launched Raw Bars, which was not a new category, it was
Yeah.
protein bars category, and they
Yeah.
were on the supermarkets since before we were born. But they realized that within the category there were consumers on the new trend of clean labels, like, hey, I don't want to buy something that I have no idea what
If
I'm
it's
eating,
healthy, yeah.
but I'm gonna buy something that says 2 eggs, 1 date, 15 cashews or 15 peanuts, 1 gram of chocolate, and at the end says zero BS, which means zero bullshit.
Hmm.
And just putting their label of ingredients as their packaging
Yeah.
make them have a huge exit.
Mm.
And as you're saying, it's not creating a new category, but it's understanding what a consumer at that category wants.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then just being honest about it. Like if someone wants healthy, just stay in it. You can stay in the category, just change the ingredients, but don't change the experience. So, just going back, like you're in consumer goods, but like I something it's itching in my head. Like why, if VCs are afraid of like of investing in startups because like hyperscalers are going to take them over, why isn't this more talked about now? Uh, or am I wrong in that characterization?
I do see more funds looking for consumer investments.
Mm,
Uh, Not all of them, but just a few more, like making being more special in some industries.
okay.
And I think it also comes a lot on the background of the managers. Many managers in the US come from working at large tech companies, and we don't come from that background, and our investors don't come from that background. Most of our investors come from the consumer world. They're former
Mm,
executive at PepsiCo or brands like that. And that helps us understand the market on a different perspective. We see the opportunity in the market, and that's why we're doing this. But I do see every time more people interesting on this space.
yeah, yeah. So besides just being creating healthy category, sorry, healthy variants of within the same category, are there other unique things that set a company apart that you'd like to talk about? That we could like also surface?
I mean, the healthy part is more than just being healthy. It's like actually changing the ingredients, because
Mm,
that's a trend that consumers are asking for. Consumers are asking for products to be more efficient on your health, on your wellness, longevity, etc. I would say the other, it's products that are working more on wellness and longevity. That we've seen a lot of that as a trend. Uh, you see it just as a consumer. Maybe if you went to a Whole Foods or a Target, there
mm,
were half an aisle of supplements 10 years ago, and now you have 3 aisles of supplements in every drugstore that you go or any new supermarket. So that wellness trend, I think, is huge, and also more efficient products. That's what consumers we see are buying the most. And the other huge trend, but goes along that, is non-alcoholic drinks. We've seen
oh, I haven't
so
seen that yet.
yeah, I mean, go every beer has now their zero version. There's wine without alcohol. There's tequila without alcohol. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the products. It's just that you're calling it out as something that's gonna be
yeah,
like
we
being
when
more
we
mainstream.
categorize our CRM, when we categorize startups, we have one that's called non-alcoholic drinks, which is
Mm,
not a soda, right? We have
no.
always had non-alcoholic drinks like juices or sodas or sparkling waters,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now we're having mezcal drinks
That's
bottled on without mezcal, or
yeah, yeah. Like
tuna drinks bottled without tequila.
yeah, here in Canada we have let's say there is a Corona that's non-alcoholic. I've noticed
No
that.
alcoholic.
Yeah. So,
Well,
oh,
Corona has one, and Heineken has one, and Stella has one, and Budweiser has one, and everybody now has one.
mm, yeah, that's yeah, true. So, I wanted, like take the opportunity, right, to go back to like Duke's Capital. All right, you gave us two sentence a version at the top. Now that we know your story and the insight that you picked, like what is Duke's Capital building in the background, and why does it matter now?
Well, a lot is a diverse portfolio for our investors. We've been fundraising from Mexico and the US actively for the past years, now deploying that capital. And what we're building is not only a portfolio of successful startups, but a consumer platform where we can really help our founders grow. We call it our Dux table. And that's where our advisors add value to each of our startups on different perspectives. We have amazing advisors that in some moments help our founders more on the financial side. We have other advisors, for example, Neil Pryor, who heads a consumer platform when startups need more on the commercial side or speaking with new supermarkets, growing on their sales team or on their marketing team.
Mm,
But we also have internally developed a lot of new AI solutions on how they can have much more data about sales in their category, growth on their category, comparison, and like we do see a lot of startups. We can always have the information confidential, but we do have the background of hey, startups selling $5 million are being valued at X times EBITDA or X times sales. Startups that are being selling $20 million on the consumer side and being valued on this way. Um, so all that's a way of helping our portfolio companies grow, knowing that in venture some of them are
mm,
gonna die.
mm.
It's part of our work in general, but we'll making our best efforts as GPs, but also next to our advisors to continue helping those founders grow.
Yeah. You know, as a VC, I know one of the main jobs is like really finding the right founder, right? And you mentioned like a lot of LATAM or people with Hispanic backgrounds are non-linear thinkers. Like, how does that come across in your due diligence? Just like getting it from your perspective, how do you
No,
check
it's
for that?
pretty easy. I mean, it's around 20% of the U.S. population are Hispanic founders, come from a Hispanic background.
Mm,
So whenever we meet a Hispanic founder in the U.S.,
yeah.
we know they have migrated either their first, second, third generation. Their
Mm,
family background is pretty different from any other founders in the US, and that
mm,
categorizes them as those non-linear thinkers. When we hear their story, founders, one of our first investments coming from two amazing founders, they were brothers. They were they migrated when they were in the elementary school. They started selling pizza in the cafeteria.
uh-oh.
They
Oh no, we're gonna get into a really cool story here. Oh crap. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just experiencing some technical difficulties here in our live session.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I lost you for
Oh,
10 seconds.
no, it's yeah, I was worried there, but yeah, you're back, and I'm glad.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
talking about
So
two brothers. That was
two
such an interesting
brothers.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, two brothers. Their mom migrated to the US when they were really young, and
Mm,
they realized as they were growing that they could still live like on their Hispanic Mexican world on Texas, and they moved to Chicago, or that they could really invest on their future throughout education and having access to the best education, having their best grades, so they could do the best college like they could, the best masters, and started working in the education space. They really understood the importance of education from an elementary stage until a postgraduate state, to help you develop your career and change the generational wealth that maybe our grandparents couldn't have because they migrated because of needs. My
Mm,
family migrated because of a genocide. So it's like
mm,
they were not going to arrive to Mexico with millions on their pocket. They barely arrived with a passport
mm,
and some clothes in their pocket, right? So just that nature of being immigrants give them that resilience of being nonlinear thinkers. And those founders that understood that their career path, their generational wealth could change, and a lot of their solutions could come from having a better education.
mm,
Not only work at the top education platforms like Google Scholars, at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but they also worked at Chicago Public Schools programs. And today they have a technology based out of data analytics and AI agents for the
mm,
for public education system in the US, because they understood it. They understood it. They were teachers, they work at the schools, they work at the foundation that supported the schools, they know what the market is missing,
mm.
and now they have a solution for that market. So for them to go sell and market this product is much more easy because they really understand that
Effortless.
point for everyone behind it.
Yeah, that's actually very powerful that you when you're looking or rather interviewing your founders that they had in adversity when they started young, right? So
Yeah.
I can see the pattern that you're painting, and I think that's a really smart way of like like cutting through the noise. So at that I want to finish up with like one question. I want to see how it lands, right? Because we're talking about AI and we're talking about consumer goods, right? So you invest in companies that survive AI because humans will always need coffee in the morning or chips, right? But AI is changing how people buy, right? And how they find it and who they trust, right? So what does that require of a consumer brand in that kind of space and that wants to be standing in 10 years, right? Like what advice would you give to product thinkers or consumer brand startups?
I mean, all their back office has to be sustained by AI solutions. All their marketing has to be sustained by AI solutions, right?
Mm,
Their reformulating of their products, a lot of their technology, having a back office backed by AI, it's clear for them to continue growing. Maybe 10 years ago, they didn't use it, but for
mm,
future product, for launching new solution,
yeah.
AI is going to be their best companion and can help us understand a lot of the data, can understand consumer patterns. Why are people buying more here than there?
Mm,
So definitely AI is a great complement for them to continue growing.
mm,
So we really support them on the use of AI for the consumer wants more on their back office side. Um, but definitely it's not like just because you're a milk brand, you don't need to
yeah.
use AI.
Yeah, like there's always going to be ways of ordering them, and who knows, agents will need to buy milk on behalf of their users. So
Yeah,
a milk company will need to have AI internally.
exactly. Internally, either through their e-commerce, through their delivery software, because now I don't know, Walmart's gonna have agents buying to brands instead of
Mm,
buyers. How
yeah,
are you gonna happen? You need to have that AI integrated, but all that is more on their back office side.
correct. Yeah. Yeah, this has been like a really thought-provoking and actually a very non-intuitive, I would say non-linear conversation. So I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
this call and having you on board. Just for consumer brands that want to reach out to you and Dux Capital, what's the best way that they could like connect?
On our webpage, there's a straight link that says pitches, and we review all the companies that receive there. So it's
Mm.
always the easiest way.
Okay. So we'll redirect them to the Dux Capital website then.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. All right. It's been a amazing conversation. Susanna, thank you for sharing your insight. And for those who've joined us in today's podcast, right? Thank you for joining. And this video will be found on YouTube and LinkedIn and X. All right, we'll end it here.
Thank you, Edward.
Yeah, thank